Hello, hello. Let me see here. hmm So Ukraine, yeah, there's a bunch of crap going down in Ukraine today. I'm waiting to see what President Alzheimer's reaction is going to be. Of course, he's going to back Ukraine. As many of you may know or may not know, there's millions and millions of Ukrainian dollars in the accounts of Hunter and Joe Biden. You may or may not know that in 2014, the United States and France and the UK overthrew the Ukrainian government basically and placed a bunch of neo Nazis in control of the Ukraine under the Obama administration, I believe. Yeah. You may or may not know about all the Burisma corruption, all the money that was funneled from Ukraine into Biden's pockets. But I actually covered it on October 26th of 2020. I went through the entire document. Actually, let me see if I can pull this document up here and show you what I'm talking about. Display. Okay. Hunter Biden, Burisma, and corruption, the impact on U.S. government policy and related concerns. This is from Senate.gov. And I will post a link here in the chat right now. You can look it over yourself. U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. There's all kinds of stuff in here that has to do with conflicts of interest. Vice President office and the State Department officials were aware but ignored concerns relating to Hunter Biden's role on Burisma's board. Now, Burisma is a Ukrainian energy company. They were paying Hunter Biden $60,000 a month, I believe, to sit on a board to which he had no qualifications to sit on. The only qualification that he had was, well, he's Joe Biden's son, you know. But if you'd like to look through that, you can. I did do a video about it on, as I said, actually, I'll show you that as well. Display capture. Back to. It's called Hunter Biden, Burisma, and Corruption. It's not the best video. I kind of just recorded it all in one take on OBS after staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning looking through the document. Kind of fished through it. And it's funny, I have 10 comments. Only one of them is showing up. Isn't that interesting? But let's see here. October 26, 2020, I covered this. And the fact that if anything happened with Ukraine and Russia, that Biden was going to certainly take the side of the Ukraine because, well, he's bought and paid for by the Ukraine. Absolutely bought and paid for. And now you will see the people on the news talking about we need to defend democracy. We need to defend democracy. And when you hear this, I want you to understand that democracy isn't exactly a thing in the Ukraine. In the Ukraine, the president of Ukraine has jailed his political opponents. He's banned opposition journalism from the country. He's banned like several prominent news organizations in the Ukraine's websites from even being displayed in the country. It is an oppressive regime of oligarchs and the news media will try and convince you that we should go to war in Ukraine, or we should sanction Russia. We need to punish Russia. We need to do this. We need to do that. Well, Russia and Ukraine had an agreement, and the Ukrainians violated that agreement. So keep in mind, not democracy, oppressive oligarchy, bunch of money in Joe Biden's pockets. These are important things to understand. Violated their agreement with Russia. Now, I feel really bad for the people in Ukraine, the citizens who are stuck in the middle of this crap. That's horrible. But don't believe the shit show on the media, as we all know. You can find live streams of what's going on, and if it wasn't for live streamers, we would really have no clue what is happening in this country ever, fucking ever, because the news does nothing but lie and spin everything. They cover, then when they can't cover for it anymore, they spin, and that's what they're doing. Like, I've been telling people, if we were gonna fight for democracy around the world and freedom around the world. Democracy is just a stupid catchphrase they use. They don't say freedom, do they? Oh, no, or liberty. No, we're not standing for liberty. It's democracy. Democracy. And democracy is, I won an election, so now you'll do whatever the fuck I say. And if you haven't seen this enough with Trudeau, well, like I've said, if we were going to stand for freedom from the United States, then we would we'd be going to Canada and doing to Justin Trudeau what we did to Saddam Hussein. They had some kind of agreement. I'm not exactly sure, Jarvis, on the agreement. What I am sure of is that if we engage in this conflict, it's not to defend democracy. That's the smoke being blown up the asses. You know what I mean? Let me see if I can pull it up. Maybe I can find something about it right now. And actually, I've got another article I want to pull up talking about the new government put in place in the Ukraine in 2014 by the United States, UK, and the Allies, right? Okay. Let's see. All right, so they had a treaty of friendship, cooperation, and partnership between Russia, Ukraine, and Russian Federation. It was an agreement between Ukraine and Russia signed in 1997, which fixed the principle of strategic partnership, the recognition of the inviolability of existing borders, and respect for territorial integrity and mutual commitment not to use its territory to harm the security of each other. The treaty prevents Ukraine and Russia from invading one another's country respectively and declaring war. Ukraine announced its intention not to renew the treaty in September 2018. By doing so, the treaty did expire on March 31st, 2019. The treaty was also known as the Big Treaty. So basically, they had a treaty where they couldn't invade each other and they couldn't use their spaces within their borders to threaten the national security of the other country. And then in 2018, Ukraine decided that they were done with that. They were done with that. Now, you should understand that the Ukraine is bordered right up against Russia, and they're talking about joining NATO and then putting NATO forces right up against the borders of Russia, and this makes Russia very uncomfortable. The people of Russia have been through tons of wars and horror, and in history, and they're very paranoid people, to be completely honest with you. In 2014, after the annexation of Crimea, whatever. I'm the worst Russian bot that you'll ever meet because I can't pronounce shit in Russian. With the annexation of Crimea, after that, they disposed the government in Ukraine. A friend of mine had a nice article about that. I'm going to go see if I can find it right quick. And basically, what my friend said was America financially supported and installed a neo-Nazi and his friends to the highest seats of government in Ukraine in 2014. That is the basic gist of that. But we need to defend these people that we put in place because of democracy, right? Now, I do not know if Joe Biden is stupid enough to engage in a land war in Asia, Eastern Europe, because, well, that's stupid. He's pretty dumb, and he'll do whatever his puppet masters tell him to do, but I'm hoping that he does not do that. We really shouldn't engage here. But what I do know is that Biden has crushed all of our own fuel and oil programs in the United States, along with Trudeau in Canada, which makes us very, very dependent on Russia for our energy needs, and we're going to be a bunch of dumb shits and put a bunch of sanctions on Russia in defense of democracy. So when you're buying $5 fuel, know that it's going to get a lot worse. We're probably going to $8 a gallon. Your electric bills are going to go up, all this stuff, right? Well, fuel was already high, and it's been high, and now they're blaming that on the Ukraine. Right. Oh, the fuel's been high for the past year because Russia just invaded Ukraine a few days ago. Right. Oh, and it's also been going on for a few days over there, the fighting, but it's just gotten to the point where mainstream media can no longer ignore it. Like I said, if we didn't have like live streamers on the ground, we wouldn't know shit about what's going on in this country at all. So, or in this world rather, we would just know what we're told to know, what the media tells us to know. Here we go. I got a nice. This one's funny. I got a nice tweet for you guys here. I mean, the whole thing is a joke, and it's all about corruption. You should know that if the media is telling you something, that you shouldn't believe it. Basically, just if your initial response should be that they're lying to you. If you keep with that, you'll be better off. General, the Ukrainian forces are in full retreat, and the citizens are taking shelter. If that's the case, who are all those people on the streets? Live streamers. What? Live streamers, sure, sir. They've been flying in from around the world, said it was for content. And thank God for the live streamers, because they're the media now, right? We can't trust the news at all. It's up to citizens to go and live stream from their cell phones for us to know what is happening. So, again, since let's see here. Rob says, I like to hear all sides of stories, lots of info on Russia, Insight, and RT. I don't know the facts, but it looks like NATO has surrounded Russia and kept sending more arms to Ukraine. Yes, exactly. NATO has been surrounding Russia for a very long time. It's making Russia very nervous. And I don't blame them for being nervous about it. They've had a lot of war, a lot of hard times in Russia. But yeah, it's strategically bad for Russia for sure. But the Cold War never ended, guys. It really never did. I just wanted to get out there just a few key points in case you guys were not aware that there's no freedom in Ukraine. There's no opposition journalism in Ukraine against the powers that be. Political opponents are jailed in Ukraine. And so when you hear the media talking about we need to defend democracy, we need to stand, and Trudeau saying we need to stand up against authoritarianism, know that Trudeau's doing what he always does in standing up for authoritarianism. Which that was just the funniest shit ever. He came out talking about this Ukraine situation. We need to stand up against the forces of authoritarianism. Like King Authoritarian himself. Know that it's not our problem in the West. It shouldn't be our problem in the West. It's about special interests. It's about money and power. And it's the same thing it's always about. You cannot trust these goons. You can't. Don't support a war in Russia. Do not support war, ever, really. I mean, war is hell. Biden will send might send our young men to fight and die for Ukraine. And if he does, I want you to know that he has millions of Ukrainian dollars in his bank account right now. He's had them in there for years. I covered it in October of 2020 before he won the election. I've called this shit. You know, I call politics all the time. I call and give me that power, right? The truth is that I'm just good at sourcing information and analyzing it. That's all. I'm good at that. And most people just use the internet, to watch Prawn, right? Hey, when I was a kid, we didn't even have the Sears catalog. We had to go to an actual Sears and whack off, But anyway, no to war indeed. No to war. We should not defend Ukraine. There's nothing in the Ukrainian government worth defending. I feel very bad for the citizens on the ground. I think Ukraine's about to get its ass handed to it. I hope it's over quickly and as painlessly as possible. And no to war. We have warmongers on every side of politics, authoritarian despots on every side of politics, and you must always pay attention. See, I'm an American. See, Phil says Canada has the opportunity to be different than the U.S. in human rights policies. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Though the United States has not been the greatest, I will tell you that. The problem with it a lot of times is that the government is pretty rogue. It's not exactly the will of the people to go to Iraq for 20 years. Right? That was not the will of the people. Vietnam was not the will of the people. This is the will of people in control. But the people who pay are the citizens. I also saw them on the media talking about yesterday, we must make sacrifices when asked about the increased energy costs if we sanction Russia. We must make sacrifices for democracy, they were saying, which, again, no democracy in Ukraine, no free speech in Ukraine. And who's making the sacrifices? It'll be the working class Americans, Canadians, all of us in the West that make the sacrifices. We'll be the ones paying the outrageous fuel costs, electric costs, heating costs. And don't think that they care about that at all. Democrats and liberals hate the poor lately, so they despise the regular citizen. So they don't care how bad it hurts us. They'll be fine. It's a big shit show. And I just wanted to get out there and let you guys know it ain't about democracy, okay? It's not. It's not even about human rights. obviously, our Western governments have shown us how much they care about human rights lately. Have they not? Yeah, war has been going on for years in East Ukraine and Russia. There's a lot of Ukrainians, I know for a fact, that want to rejoin with Russia. I'm sure there's lots that don't. But this is a political dispute. This is not a human rights dispute. This is not a democracy dispute. Oh, and I've seen plenty of Democrats down here talking about, oh yeah, look, the Republicans don't want to go to war. They're backing the communists in Russia, and these motherfuckers think that you're so stupid that you don't know that communism ended in Russia in 1991. And the fact is that their voters are probably that stupid that they think that Russia is communist. The Chinese are communists, and you'll never hear them say a word against the Chinese because they're bought and paid for by the Chinese, and Biden is bought and paid for by Ukraine and the Chinese. You know, democracy to these people is whoever sticks the most money in their pockets. That's democracy to them. The people that have all the power in this world are the worst kinds of people you can imagine. As if the Maxwell trial didn't prove that one. Of course, you know, they can't tell you who they were trafficking children to because somehow this whatever ring has the ability to conceal itself. Right? No one leaked that information. No one hacked that information and put it on the Twitter twats. Look, I don't really know what to think, between Russia and Ukraine either, but I know that it's not what they're telling us it is. It's not about democracy. It's not about liberty. It's not about any of that crap. It's about greased wheels. And the ones who pay the price are not the ones who are getting their wheels greased. And they will sacrifice you and your children in exchange for some of that grease, son. Just don't buy into the media hype. Never do. Your gut instinct should always be, these fuckers are lying, and get online and start searching and figuring it out for yourself. You know? The internet is a wonderful tool. When used properly, there's a lot of misinformation to sift through, for sure. But if you know what you're doing, you can figure out pretty quick that you're being lied to. It'll be a short stream. I'm snowed in today. Yeah, well, people are starting to wake up, James Casey, I hope. I saw some people saying I used to be woke, but now I'm awake, which means that even a lot of people on the far left or what are starting to realize that they've been brainwashed. Being woke, that's brainwashing. Gives you some fake cause that you think that you're fighting and makes you feel like you're some kind of hero and you're just a useful idiot, as Lenin would say. Useful idiots. It's not our fight at all. Not one bit. Yeah, that is another issue. As Rob Jarvis says here in my chat, most East Ukrainians speak Russian. This is true. And apparently there's been a big persecution against them in the Ukraine and against Russian Jews and different classes of people. And I believe this has been at least a contributing factor to why Russia has had enough. I mean, the fact that, yes, they won't let Russia join NATO, and Putin said Ukraine can't either. He doesn't want to be surrounded by NATO with missiles pointed at him. We wouldn't either, okay? We would not either. The Cuban Missile Crisis, for example, in the 60s, is a good example of that. We almost went to war because Russians are trying to get some missiles close to our country. But we think we can just go over there and park our missiles right up their behinds, and then when they do something about it, we're like, oh, we have to stand up for democracy. Democracy is not threatening people around the world. Democracy. Ridiculous. Democracy is ridiculous. Especially since you have no way of knowing who actually is the majority. All you know is who they tell you the majority is. You know? And, my phones are going off. Democracy is a nice trick. It really is. I did a video about democracy and the problems with democracy a long time ago. It's called Among Us and the Truth of Democracy. It's one of my favorite videos that I've ever done. It's kind of profound, to be completely honest with you. And you should check it out. I'd like it if some of you guys would watch it. It's funny that some of my most popular videos are not nearly my favorite videos, and my favorite videos are not my most popular videos, but that seems to be the way that it works. Whatever's a hot topic seems to be the most popular thing, you know. That's just the way people are. When you put a lot of artistic, work into a piece of work, artistic expression, and then it gets like 47 views. It's a bummer, but it is what it is. Among Us and the Truth of Democracy is my top 3 favorite videos I've ever made. And if you watch it, it will make you think about the reality of democracy and what it is and its shortcomings. It does have its own issues. I mean, if everyone, it's kind of like that old saying that everyone's mom probably told them when they were growing up. If all your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it? Or what if all your friends voted to throw you off a bridge? Does that make it right? Democracy, it's a joke. It's just used to manipulate people. Something that's wrong does not become right just because the majority of people vote for it. Right. That's it. But democracy aside, that's what they're going to say. Democracy, democracy, democracy. And it has nothing to do with any of that shit at all. So the live streams are pretty horrible coming out of Ukraine. It can infuriate you. That's the reason they're letting them come out. Because of course there are civilians in Kyiv and stuff that are caught in the crossfire, and I do feel that there's going to be a lot of tragedy come out of this. Thank God. You're welcome. He says that's wonderful. Anyway. You know what? I bet you that is The Rock right there. And I would bet you it's also the Justin Trudeau account that is now God in my chat. Tell me I'm wrong. God account. Hell, that dude cracks me up. I don't know who the hell he is, but he's funny as shit. So, just pay attention, guys, and don't pay attention to the media. Find the live streamers. Listen to people like Viva Frey. Listen to normal people that pay attention. Don't listen to the media at all. You can't trust these fuckers. They're all bought and paid for too, right? Like, they're becoming irrelevant. More and more people are realizing how irrelevant they are. They're realizing how irrelevant they are, and they're starting to really panic about it. But no to war. That's my vote. No to war. We've had enough damn war. You'd think in a world where we can all uh, communicate with each other so much easier than we could before, we wouldn't have these issues anymore. I mean, I can have conversations with Russians if I want to online, and Google will translate it for me live, live as we speak. Viva. Here, I'll put it in the chat right now. You'll probably actually get the response before you hear my voice talk about it, because that's the way the live streams work. He's actually a Canadian. He's supposed to have a live stream starting anytime, and I think I will actually get off of my live stream and I will go listen to see what Viva Frey has got to say. He's probably going to have some people on that are more knowledgeable about all the issues surrounding Ukraine than I am. I'm just knowledgeable about the fact that the media is full of shit, and about media. And that's basically my angle. I'm telling you right now is don't believe the content of media. But I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thanks for coming and listening to me blather on as I sit in my recliner again. And I'll holler at you guys later.